How's it going, my friend? For today's video, I wanted to take the time to talk about leadership. Leadership. But first, let's go over definition, shall we? Leadership is defined as the position or function of a leader, a person who guides or directs a group. Now, that's just one definition, right? Another definition is the ability to lead. And you might be thinking, Alvin, I'm not a leader, man. What's up with this video? And while true, there are people who are natural born leaders that can work easily with people, I believe and know that everyone as a baseline needs to be a leader for themselves. And it goes to the simple perspective of in order to live your life, you need to be able to lead it. You need to be the leader in it. And that also includes taking responsibility for yourself because you have your life to live, right? Can't expect anybody else to take responsibility for your life when it's your life. It's your life. So I want to talk a bit about what does it mean to be a leader, just to give you an idea, to help you identify, to help you relate with that word better, especially if you're someone that thinks, I'm not a leader, I can't be a leader. Okay, let's kind of play around with this perspective. So to be a leader, I think part of what's important to be a leader is being clear and pursuing what it is that you need and want, right? Your ambitions, your true heart's desires, your goals, your dreams, things like that, and just taking charge and going after it. A leader responds rather than reacts. A leader leads from within with a sense of purpose. A leader thinks for themselves, but is also open to feedback and works with the feedback. A leader helps himself and others, but never neglects either one. A leader stays level-headed in high-stress situations, which leads me to talk about the qualities. I'm going to name some qualities of what a leader is. Calm, cool, and collected. And I want to use those words together because I remember an experience I had recently. I was in a trip. I was in a spiritual retreat summer camp in Iowa, and I had the opportunity to do an ice plunge or a polar bear plunge, as it's called. And I remember when there was a lot of stuff and worries and ruminating that was going on in my head before leading into stepping into this tub of cold water. I stepped into it, and then as I was sinking into it, man, that fight or flight was like kicking in, and it was crazy. And there was part of me inside that was screaming, get out, need to get out. This is cold, it's uncomfortable, it's unpleasant. But there was a part in me that made this decision. I want to stay in this because the people who have done it before me were telling me just the pain, the discomfort that I was going to feel. They told me that it was only going to last for a certain point in time before it shifts. And so I was trusting that. So I'm like, I'm going to stay and stick with it. Even though I felt like I had trouble breathing, like I was going to literally suffocate, right? I stuck my hands out to kind of grab onto the edges of the little tub, that I was in. And then I was just kind of taking deep breaths. At a certain point, I felt a shift and then I felt myself relax into the tub. Like I actually started to feel the pain subside. It almost kind of felt like I was feeling kind of numb now. I'm like, okay, I feel a numbness coming on, but the pain and discomfort and the pressure I was feeling started to fade. And then that was a moment that taught me a lot about, being a leader in that moment. When in situations that like really felt like fight or flight, like intense. Sure, people experience some level of that to some degree in their own situations. I don't know if you can relate with that or if you can think about situations in your life, you felt some level of high stress and intensity, perhaps at work or at home, or maybe in a social situation. So that just give an example there. But some other qualities include inspiring, empowering, listener, self-confident, which I like to think it's like a muscle, right? I hear some people say, "Oh, I'm not confident. Oh, I'm not confident." We all have confidence. It's there, right? Because there are areas of our lives that we have total confidence in, right? What else could also be true is that there might be other areas in our life where we may not feel quite as confident. Like I know for me at a certain point in time, I didn't feel confident riding a bike, but by having experiences and being involved and practicing, I started to get more confident. And I was working my confidence muscle, right? I was like, yeah. And so I feel a lot more confident now on my bicycle than I did before. But there's always a period of time where it's like, okay, not feeling quite as confident to, okay, now I feel confident. But it's a muscle. We all have it. It's not like we have to achieve it and it's the end all be all. It's like a work in progress. So my little tidbit on that piece. A leader is also sincere with themselves and with others. A leader is also patient. And so I identified some qualities and I want you to look at it like, okay, what situations did you have some of these qualities ever in your life? And I'm sure you have at some point. You just got to dig a little bit. You have to kind of journal and get around with that and look back. Everybody has been a leader at some point. It's just, again, redefining leadership. And it's not always in the context of working with people. And right. And it's not about telling people what to do or trying to do this or this, right? Or not trying to exercise authority over. That's not what a leader is. And actually, let me get into what actually is a leader, expanding more on that when it comes to working with people and why I believe that everyone's a leader. So let's look at the word lead, right? Lead. And the definition I came across that I thought was interesting was to go before or with, to show the way, providing guidance or direction. So I'm a strong believer in lead by example. And I believe that's the core of how you can be a leader for others. When you take the time, to clarify things for yourself, when you move into a situation where you try to practice being level headed, being patient, being relaxed, um, being decisive, right? Or even like taking action. That's a very powerful quality of being a leader. It's taking action, taking initiative, not asking, not doing out of permission or to try to seek validation or approval from other people. It's like you're acting out of accordance with your true heart's desire, your sincerity, your service. When you work on being your own leader, leading yourself, leading your life, and going back to what I shared about leading by example, as a natural byproduct, you will naturally be a leader for other people. And you may find yourself being able to work easier with other people. Like I know I have, for sure. I've definitely discovered that along the way in my inner work journey. So identify, how have I been a leader for myself? And I hope that what I've shared here have given you some guidelines, right? Trying to help show the way, share some guidelines that can help you unfold that inner leader within yourself so that you go forth leading your life, being of service, and to make that important, lasting impact to inspire change. That's one of the qualities, right? Inspiring, to inspire change in other people. That to me is a powerful leader, someone who inspires change, not try to change other people, but understands that the true change is inside out. And so that's it for today's video. I just wanted to get some idea of what it means to be a leader because I think that's important for everybody to consider and to really see within themselves that they are a leader. They have to be. They need to. And so this has been another video. I hope you got something out of it. I appreciate it if you still made it to this point of the video. And as always, take care, my dear friend.